You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the CEO Leading In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of CEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights, despite their sometimes rocky paths, and found a way to lead in. We're here today with Mia Roseberry from Wounded Warrior Homes. I am so excited to have you here today, Mia. Could you tell us a little bit about Wounded Warrior Homes and how you started that company?
Well, thank you for having me today. Wounded Warrior Homes, we provide transitional housing and reintegrative support services for post 9/11 veterans with traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress. So reintegrative support services are literally everything you and I need in the course of the day. Do we need help with a phone bill, a legal issue, paying bills, buying food? I mean, literally anything you and I think of. And I always tell people the biggest thing is think about when you go home tonight, the door is not there. Your home is gone. Now, what are you going to do? Your home is gone and your income is gone. And we take for granted the fact that we get to go home every night. We open the door, we close the door, we're in a safe space. A roof over our head, we have clean clothes, we have food. And that's not the case for a lot of the veterans here in San Diego, well, across the nation. And Wounded Warrior Homes is here to make a change and to support our veterans in our community. We are a drug and alcohol-free program, and our veterans stay on a month-to-month basis. As with transitional housing, it's up to 2 years, but the majority of our veterans never stay that long because they don't need that long to get back on their feet.
So I think you were recently acknowledged and a finalist for the CEO of the Year through the San Diego Business Journal. How does that feel?
It's an honor just to be, there's a process, you're nominated, and even just to get to the finalists, because there's a lot of really incredible CEOs here in San Diego, and to be even considered a finalist is quite an honor. The great part for me is it just shows that what we're doing in the community matters. And that's what matters to me.
Well, absolutely, because you're supporting our military, and we wouldn't have our freedom without them. And they
true.
really go through a lot in their service to us. And a lot of people just don't really think about that, sadly. It's definitely sad how some of our folks get back into society and they don't have the support. Well, actually, they do have the support. They just don't know how to actually get the resources that they need, I think, a lot of times. And, having a situation where they are back in society and they maybe have a lot of stress and PTSD, they're not really sure how to deal with that. So very excited to know all that you're doing in that. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Can you share a fun short story about you as a kid that people may not know about you?
The rough part about that question is before I was 11 is gone. I have no memories before the age of 11, 12-ish. Was in a car accident. And so a lot of my childhood memories are gone. But when I was in high school, my mom got married and my stepfather introduced me to horses. And I delivered newspapers on horseback.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Instead of people riding their bicycle and delivering newspapers, I did it on horseback.
Wait, where was this? That's awesome. I'm a horse lover. That's why I say that.
Yeah, I lived in an area called Valinda. It is near Industry Hills in the area of La Puente and West Covina. it's kind of a little unincorporated area in there that was, at the time, horse property. I'm not sure about now, but then there was a lot of us on our street that had horses. And so I did my newspaper route on horseback.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. Do you have any pictures? That would be worth. You might not. I actually showed.
I don't know if there are any. I'd never thought of that, but with my mother passed a few years ago, and I'm still in that digging through the photo phase, and so I've been finding a lot of photos that I didn't know existed, which are bringing back. They're creating memories that I didn't have anymore. So it's a lot of fun. And who knows, I might find one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you get one, I really want to see it.
I will share it with you if I ever find one.
That's awesome. So tell me, do you have a word that you think describes you the best?
I was thinking about that, and every time I think of the question, it changes. People tell me I have a huge heart. The one word that I use on a daily basis to remind myself when I get stuck is that no matter what, I'm unstoppable. And so that's, I think, my biggest word is unstoppable, because there have been lots and lots of, you're talking about, overcoming. There have been lots of reasons in my life and things, especially with my head injury and hearing loss, and that have created roadblocks that I could have used as a crutch to not pursue things in my life. And I just decided that if one door closes, another will open, or a window, or heck, I'll create a chimney somewhere. It's going to happen. We just have to keep looking for the way to make what we want happen.
That's interesting, because I think that's how your journey chose you. Mm-hmm. That's why you're doing the work you're doing, because you've actually overcome a lot. I didn't even know about your accident, but that probably shifted you into a different direction, but really it was actually the direction you were meant to go in.
Yeah, I look back at it and I think, well, I've never seen it as like I'm completely deaf in my left ear, and I have a major hearing loss in my right ear, and I've never considered myself hearing impaired or handicapped. I mean, I'll tell people because it's the only way they can know how to talk to me when we're in a group, or that I can't hear them, but I've never seen it as a reason not to do something. I just adjust.
Right.
And, I mean, when I was injured, when I finally got back to school, it was about midway. I got injured within the first week of my 6th grade year. By the time I got back to school, I remember it being Christmas. And there was a lot of time lost. And they didn't do anything different for me in the classroom. They just put me back in the classroom. There weren't all of the wonderful support services that there are now for kids and for people with hearing impairments. So I just learned to adjust.
Well, then maybe it's maybe unstoppable, isn't it? Maybe it's actually resilient or something along those lines. But
it
again,
seems to change, but that's the one word that I always come back to.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing is, resiliency is part of being unstoppable, because you have to deal with things. And, I think more now than ever, we've got to figure out how to adjust. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that always are coming up in life, and you just go, okay. And, I feel the same way. It's like, okay, that's in my way. I'm just going to go this way. I'm going to continue moving forward no matter what. Mm-hmm. My word is tenacious, but it's the same. I mean, it's
that one comes across too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I literally have to stop and just stop and breathe and back up and maybe just not even work a day. Just take a day off. And I did it recently. My brain was so... We've gone from pretty much for the last 15 months, we've been moving at a snail's pace. And now that things have opened up, I've gone from 0 to 800 in less than 2 weeks. And my brain went, excuse me, I can't keep up. And I just took a day and I just sat home and piddled around the house all day and I did the things I needed to do, for work. But for the most part, I just gave my brain a break. And now I can refocus and I feel re-energized. But we get accustomed to this fast pace and we adjust, but sometimes we need to look back at this last year. And while I know it was a huge struggle for so many people, it taught us a lot. And if nothing else, it taught us that we can slow down and we can still survive.
Yes, and finding balance.
Yes.
And it really is hard. And I actually had one of my friends just tell me the other day, girl, you need to figure out how to schedule some days every month that are traditional work days where you don't have a set meeting, and you need to just take a day off for yourself, because this fast pace. I mean, I've been working very hard, all along. In fact, probably harder than ever, just because of the things that tend to come up every day. And so, I think that's a good thing to remember. Take a day off, take some time, get the things done that you need to get done, but you've got to refresh to be able to be your best self.
And everything else will still be there tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah, well, I
Things
think
will still
we
be
all
there
do.
tomorrow.
Well, and as so do you have children? Tell me what that looks like. What have you got going on?
We are grandparents
Okay.
of a wonderful 19-month-old granddaughter, and we have an amazing daughter and her husband. They live in Montana, though, so they're not here. But when they are, and this year is going to be wonderful because we have so much travel backed up from last year.
Yeah.
That we're going to see each other every single month. Either they're coming or we're going back and forth the whole rest of the year. So,
Wow.
we'll get to spend time with her and having the portal last year.
Yeah.
My daughter had to work from home. She works for the state. And she had a toddler in the house, but every day at lunch, we took that time to spend time together. So it was the three of us for lunch. And I actually miss it because now she's back to work and Haley's at, daycare. And it's like, I miss my...
Where's my grandbaby?
Yeah, my daughter and my
grandgirl?
granddaughter time.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
oh my gosh. That's awesome. So what do you think the biggest barrier has been for you as a woman in this industry where you... Not all veterans are men, but many are. How do you see that? Have you had any barriers in that?
I think in the beginning there were a lot because I never saw the workforce as a male versus female area. I have a background I worked in emergency medicine as an EMT. I worked out in an ambulance. I've been a teacher. And I worked in the emergency room. And so it was a fairly even balance of male and female in the workforce. And I ran up against some, let's say, old school thought when I first started the nonprofit. And there's still a few people that I deal with that have that mentality. And it's okay. I just work around you. If I get stuck, I'll ask my husband to talk to them. And it doesn't bug me. It's just... I'm not going to try and change them. I'm just going to adjust. And I could sit around and complain about it, but I won't. So I just adjust to make it work. I'm yet Winterwear Homes, when we started in 2009, was yet another nonprofit in San Diego. There are a lot of us here. This is a huge community of people who give back, and that's what they want to do. Therefore, there's a lot of nonprofits here. And to be able to say that we started on a whim, my husband and I had a challenge put before us when we were at an entrepreneur training, that if you're an entrepreneur, you have to give back. And we said, oh, well, we do that. We did all kinds of stuff in the community. And he said, oh, for those of you who give back, it has to be bigger. And from the drive back from Las Vegas, the idea for Wounded Warrior Homes was born. And just really finding a niche with the drug and alcohol-free transitional housing. When we started, our first veteran came into the first apartment on September 14th of 2012. And we've got a 10-year anniversary coming up. And we just keep moving forward. And things you have to adjust with the times and you adjust with the needs and keep on what's going on in the community and where the needs are and just keep moving forward.
Well, as you said before, one of the things that you think about yourself, and I would totally agree with it, is you have a big heart.
Mm-hmm.
I think that translates well into what you're doing because obviously, love and caring about people is a very major part of what you're actually doing. And, a lot of people can come in and, have the corporate, oh, we're going to help you kind of thing. But I think you bring a special brand to that with the way that you care about people and the
thank
way
you.
that you are loving them. And that's, I think, something that not necessarily women do better, but sometimes we tend to show it a little bit more in different ways, in more of a, I don't want to say motherly, but
No, I just think so much of that is how we were brought up. And you were talking about something earlier as far as veterans and services. I think a lot for our veterans, period, no matter whether they're male or female, no matter what branch they served in, they have, and they've told me this, they have a feeling that if they ask for the help won't be there for somebody else, which isn't the case. And if they ask for help, it's a sign of weakness, which it's not. But we have been, I think all of us have that bit of that, stand on your own 2 feet, pick yourself up, keep moving forward. You don't need any help. You've got it. And when we reach out to our community and say, hey, this isn't working for me anymore, how can you help me? A lot of the veterans that I've spoken to have said that makes them feel that they're less than. And it's like, you've served your country. You are the less than 1% across the United States of our population, which is quite large, that step up and say, I will go wherever and do whatever I'm asked to do in the name of keeping our country safe. And I think that's the biggest thing that we forget, for one, that what kind of services, and then the families that support them while they're in service, whether they're the wives and the children or the parents and the sisters and the brothers. It's difficult for everybody. And for our veterans to come back and feel that if I ask you for help, that makes me less than whole is really not the case. And someone asked me the other day, what are the most important dates for me? And it's the day a veteran trusts us and come in, and the day we watch them graduate and move on. Because we can see there's always, with every one of our veterans, there'll be this, you see the light that they went, oh, I got this. And it comes in the smallest forms and the biggest forms, but you can see it in their face. Like there's a shift all of a sudden. It's like, wow, you are not the guy that came in here, however long ago. And we've got 3 veterans transitioning next month that actually completed the Wounded Warrior Home program a year ago. But because of COVID, we created a special circumstance in which they were allowed to stay longer until we understood what was happening. And now they're moving away. And they are not the guys that walked in that door at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. They were amazing then, but they're even more amazing now. And they've seen some great things in their lives. They've accomplished some great things, and they've seen the possibilities for what's next. And I think that's something we all need to remember, because we all hit walls and we all hit setbacks. And
all of us.
We all do.
Yes.
We all do. I mean, if anybody tells you they've never hit one, they're lying.
For sure. They just don't want to admit they're weak.
They don't want to admit it. And
it's not weak. It's not
weak.
weak. But they think that. And, I look at our military and, I actually had a guest a while back. She started Perspective Fitwear, and that was her way of, helping support her family. Her husband was gone a lot. He's in the military. There's a tremendous sacrifice that I think a lot of people never even, it never crosses their mind. Mm-hmm. And that is not only for, again, our hometown heroes that actually sign up, but their families actually sacrifice a lot. I come from a family of military. My dad, my grandpa, my cousin actually right now serves currently. He's in the Navy. But a lot, and San Diego County, tends to have a lot of military, whether it's your immediate family or, your outside family or friends, a lot of military in San Diego County. And it's a sacrifice for all of them.
It is.
And that makes me feel sad that they're afraid to ask for help, because they're not recognizing that we actually see that too. And we know that they've sacrificed, and it affects each one of them differently. But PTSD is real.
It is.
It is. And it's in a lot of different things. But, giving up so much for our community and our world and our lives, is sometimes overlooked, which is tragic. I mean, it really is, because they go through so much. And, I think a lot of them that are not married, that don't have that support system, they've got their military family, but not having, people that feel loved. They come back and they're trying to figure out what life looks like after the military. And sometimes they don't have, an actual family that is around them because they're, living elsewhere, but they're coming back to what their community is, but their community is sometimes just friends. They don't know what that looks like. And so it's hard for them to get back into, what that new life is going to look like.
That's one of the great things that I've always loved about the way we manage our homes. We have 3 homes, Escondido, Oceanside, and Vista. And between those, we have 13 beds. Now, each veteran has his own room. But the veterans, whether it's a 4-bedroom or a 5-bedroom house, the veterans are there to support each other. They have their own room, but they can choose to communal cook. They can choose to do things independently. But they have each other, and they know what each other's been through. They are there. Because I can't say I understand. I can understand that you have struggles, but your struggles, I do not have them, and I've not served. So I don't know them, but I do know that what road back will look like. And, the support services that we connect with in San Diego, we're part of the San Diego Veterans Coalition. We work with pretty much anyone in San Diego who's been vetted, that is a for-profit or a nonprofit who's willing to step up and help our veterans and not charge them for the services. And we work with the VA and other nonprofits, and it's about rallying around and becoming that family. That we always say it takes a tribe or it takes a village, and it does. Yeah. And when they were in the military, they had that tribe, they had that village, they had that brotherhood and sisterhood. And I can't imagine what it's like when they leave, but I've had friends who've retired, and they say that part of the problem with retirement is you lose your identity because you've done something for so long. It's the same thing for people that leave the military. They're accustomed to a way of life every minute of their day, and they come out into the civilian world and it looks nothing like the military world at all.
So as a woman in leadership, what lessons have you learned that you want to help other women apply to their lives and their leadership?
I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. When I started Wounded Warrior Homes, I literally started asking for help immediately. My background is in education, not in business, not in nonprofit management, and my skills bring things to what I do, but it's not about, being a boss or being a leader and ask for help. I've had some amazing coaches along the way. I worked with Jane Howell. She met me at an event when I was standing in front of an event in San Diego and said, I have this idea to start this nonprofit and I'm going to do it and I need help. And she stepped up. I literally said, I have no staff, no board. This is what I'm going to do and I need help. And she stood up and said, I'll coach you. And then, we've become fast friends. She still coaches me today. And it's just ask for help. Ask for help no matter what it is. And not every idea that a person's going to give you is going to be the right idea for you. So you ask a lot of people and you figure out along the way. And there's going to be bumps. I've had a lot of setbacks. Have
you had any failure that you want to talk about?
I go full force forward. Like, how fast can I go? And then I go, I probably should have thought about that one first. I've just made decisions and I can't always remember all of them. But it's a great thing about my staff is if I've got some major decision, I'll go to them and they'll go, well, here's the pros and cons of that decision or thought you have. Right. And it's great because we work as a team and we bounce ideas off each other. And I can go to them or they can come to me and say, hey, I've got this idea. Hey, that's a great idea. What if we tweak it this way? Or I'll go to them and say, I have a great idea. And I've had one staff member go, whoa, back off. Have you really thought about this? And I go, yeah. And he goes, give it another 48 hours and come back.
Yeah.
And then I go, oh, yeah, I can see. And they'll say, what about these? And that's the great part of asking for help is you're going to stumble and you're going to make bad decisions. And hopefully they're not costly. Luckily, mine have not been costly. They've just been dumb. because I didn't think them through. And I didn't ask for enough help.
I know why your word changes because I'm actually thinking another word for you now. And
See what I'm talking
that's
about?
That's fearless. And honestly, but you have to have that element to be a good leader, I think. A little bit of fearlessness in your journey, because you're not going to try things if you are not a little bit fearless. There's healthy fearless, and then there's, unhealthy, obviously, where you're just jumping off a cliff.
Yeah, no,
But,
I don't have that kind of fearlessness.
No, and being able to surround yourself with people that are going to impart that wisdom and say, whoa, hold on. I actually call it spitballing myself. I know it's a gross term.
Well, no, it's a great, that's what it is.
But, throwing out ideas out there, but also being able to listen to others and take that wisdom and go, yeah, it's okay. I do a lot of social media for my work. I sometimes, and I often get a lot of emails that I need to respond to that I go, oh, and then I think a certain thing and I'm like, no, I can't respond like that. This is what I do. I take off, so I don't accidentally send something. I take off my response. I take off their email where it would go to. And I start crafting my response, and I let it sit overnight, sometimes for a few days, when I know that I want to be very careful in my response, because I don't want to respond in a way. And you seem like you're doing this, which is why I bring this up.
Yeah, well, there'll be times when I'll ask my assistant, or someone, I'll say, can you read this email before I send it? Because I want to get my point across, and I want to answer them, but I don't want to. I feel snarky in the comment.
Right.
And so.
Right. Because you want to be, and that's a good leader. That's a good leader, that you come up with your response, then you think about it, you have someone else look at it, and you go, maybe I shouldn't do that. Because when we have a knee-jerk reaction, sometimes it's the wrong reaction.
Oh, yeah.
And it's better to have action that is more purposeful, which I would say, too, that you're very methodical in what your next step's going to be. You think it through. You're not.
Sometimes it keeps me up at night. If you can tell, I did that day before yesterday. I have those rip-off white sheets. And I normally have lots of colored markers. Apparently I need new colored markers because I can only find an orange one. But I will just wake up I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my brain will not shut up. And I just get up and I just start writing. I just start writing in this big thing, like all the thoughts that went through my head in the middle of the night. And I have to do a brain dump, and then I have to sit back. And sometimes it'll sit there for 2 or 3 days, and I'll go, okay, and I'll restructure the thoughts. But the craziest, I think the thing I never expected in being in this type of a leadership position is that it's every job I ever had, I left at the end of the day. This is a 24-hour day.
Well, it's your
whether
baby.
Whether you think it is or not.
Yeah.
I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. I roll over. I'm checking my text messages in case something important came in overnight. And it's being able to just say, okay, brain, thank you for your comment. Now go to sleep. And please think something else. So I found that white noise or music or something, so my brain can think of something else. They say no TV, no social media. I can play solitaire and go out cold. I can watch TV and fall asleep. I can listen to music and fall asleep. But quiet, no.
Yeah. It's hard. It is hard. Well, that goes back to your big heart. You care, and that's important, and that really resonates so much with me because I care too. And sometimes for people that have big hearts, it's hard for us to have a job that we can't. We can't do everything you want to do. We can't do everything. I mean, I'm one person. You're one person, and there are so many things that I think we probably want to do, but.
That's why you ask for help.
That's exactly right.
Delegate and ask for help.
So here I am. I'm going to ask you, what advice would you give to young women leaders that are listening today that, would be something that could really guide them in their future and their leadership?
I think the number one thing that comes to mind is listen to your heart.
That's good.
Because I know people say it's cliche to say, listen to your gut or listen to your heart. But and at least for me, my head can be a bull in a china shop. my heart will say, my heart knows. My gut knows. And every time I listen to it, I'm good. When I don't, I pay. And I think really, and realizing in what you're doing, I think the biggest lesson I had to learn when I started the nonprofit is I can't help everybody. I have to be specific in what we're doing. There's so many more people I would love to help, but I can't. I can't simply do, none of us can do all of it. That's why there's so many of us around.
Yeah.
Pick something specific, focus on that. And if you don't find your heart in it, that isn't it. Be willing to go, maybe this isn't it. You know, I loved teaching. I got burned out. I worked with special ed kids. I loved my students. I just got burned out. And I took some time off to regroup and work with my husband, and I found this. Yeah. And we started in our home. And it took over our home. And that was okay for a long time. But then we had to move it out, so there was at least some separation. But just, I really think it is listen to your heart. And your heart knows whether you're going in the right direction. In anything, at least for me.
And so many people call it something different, but it's exactly the same guiding principle. And that is follow your heart, follow your North Star, as one of my guests said, follow your gut. But, you know, and others call it intuition. But I think you really do know when you're on the right track because it feels really comfortable. And I definitely know what you're doing is right for you and something where you can make a huge difference in people's lives and one at a time. And that's awesome to see. Anyway, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your journey. And it's been great getting to know you a little bit better. I really appreciate our conversation today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learned how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with CEO host Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.